I got to give a shout out to the wonderful folks here at Wild West Hackin Fest that have been putting this whole thing together. They have done an immaculate, amazing job so far, and they deserve all the praise and all the applause in the world. So be sure to thank all of the wonderful folks that are running this. So we're going to talk a little bit about some social engineering today. As she said, my name is David Boyd. I'm a senior security consultant over at Trusted Sec. The most important thing that I want to tell you about me is that I am a Christian. And all that means is that I'm an imperfect sinner, saved and forgiven by the grace of God, and the same God that loves me loves you as well, okay? I'm an Army veteran, husband, father, geek, gamer, social engineer, red teamer, physical. I get to break in and rob banks for a living is what I tell folks. So who here went out to the vendor area and got some free candy? Y'all enjoyed that candy? Yeah? Yeah, it's wonderful, right? So we all operate on trust all day without even thinking about it. You walked up to a vendor, you reached into their candy bowl, and when you opened it, you were probably expecting chocolate, right? Not broccoli, not Brussels sprouts, anything like that. You were expected to be a Reese's or a Snickers bar. You trust the elevator when you get into it that it will take you where you want to go. You trust your Uber driver when you put in the directions, that Uber driver is going to take you where you need to go. And that's exactly what social engineers exploit. Those tiny moments of trust that we never even put into question. So this is a great comic from XKCD. It talks about the difference between movie hacking and real hacking. You've got XDR, CrowdStrike, next-gen EDR. It has never been harder than it is now in 2025 to try to brute force your way in. But all of the security tech has one thing in common. It's that it trusts people. And people can be persuaded. Sometimes the easiest way to get past the gates isn't hacking the tech itself. It isn't trying to make a new zero day or anything like that. It's hacking the human that may be holding the keys. So I went out and I looked up 3 different definitions of social engineering. I went to Merriam-Webster, I asked ChatGPT and things. And if you read the definitions, you'll notice that none of them actually agree completely on what social engineering is. They all mention things like manipulation, deception, getting people to do things they shouldn't, but they miss one key thing. This isn't just about stealing data. It's about influencing human behavior. Whether it's getting a password, a badge swipe, or even just a tiny moment of trust, the psychology behind it is usually the same. So even though the dictionaries can't quite agree, at its core, social engineering is about influence and trust. And that's not new. Long before we had firewalls, MFA, phishing links, humans were social engineering each other. Persuasion has been weaponized for centuries. Back in 1936, Dale Carnegie wrote a book titled How to Win Friends and Influence People. If you've never read it, I highly recommend you pick it up. In that book, he tries to solve the mystery of what it is that makes people tick. He showed us that persuasion is a skill that you could study, refine, and master. But the truth is, humans have been persuading each other longer, like far longer than 1936. In fact, the very first social engineering attack was recorded thousands of years earlier. Does anyone want to take a guess what that was? Anybody? No, it wasn't your coworker saying that, Novell is going to be the future. Forget Cisco, go all in on Novell. I'm thinking a little further back than that, Adam, Eve, the serpent, the apple, that kind of thing. You also had the Trojan horse. That's a little well-known version of social engineering. Back in the 13th century, the Trojan horse was this huge hollow wooden horse, for folks that may not know. It's constructed by the Greek army to gain entrance into Troy during the Trojan War. The Greeks, pretending that they didn't want any part of it, they were ready to desert the war, sailed to this nearby island, and leaving behind a couple of their dudes, they persuaded the Trojans that this horse was a gift, and it was an offering to Athena, the goddess of war, that would make them impregnable should they accept it. Loaded the dudes up, rode the horse into the camp. At night, they busted out, took over the camp, and decisively won the war. At the start of many known hacks throughout history, social engineering has been the starting point. 2011, you had RSA, a phishing email with a malicious Excel file, compromised secure ID. Back in 2013, you had the Target hack, right? Attackers phished an HVAC vendor, then pivoted from HVAC into Target's unsegmented point-of-sale network. Had all those nice little credit cards stolen. You had the AP Twitter hijack. a fake tweet went out about explosions at the White House and the president was killed, the markets took a nosedive in just a matter of minutes, wiped out $136 billion before it stabilized and before it was realized, hey, this is bogus. And then in the most recent 2023, you had the MGM and Caesars hacks, the scattered spider attacks, right? Multi-million-dollar ransomware, terabytes of data stolen, all kicked off with a phone call. We all do some form of social engineering, every single one of us in this room. Whether you're selling a car, you don't just say, well, it's got 4 wheels. You usually tell folks, it's a classic. I only ever drove this to church on Sundays by a sweet little old lady who definitely didn't do burnouts in the Walmart parking lot. When you're getting a job or when you're asking for a raise, you go out and you show up and hope for the best. You don't do that. You show up, you have the right outfit, you have the right attitude, you highlight your wins. You even maybe casually mention, hey, other companies are offering me this much and they're chomping at the bit to get to me. That's influence with a paycheck attached. Kids, who here has kids? Right? Bunch of us parents, kids are master social engineers, aren't they? They will ask to stay up late. They hit you with those big eyes, that sad voice. But Dad, Mom, all the other kids get to stay up, right? It's open source intelligence gathering and social manipulation all rolled into one tiny cute package. And let's be honest, spouses, right? Husbands and wives, we're next level social engineers. It may start with a back rub. Maybe you're doing the dishes, picking up the trash, whatever. And then suddenly they're standing there like, hey, what are you doing later? Dogs too. Dogs are master social engineers. Professional manipulators, these two. They'll tilt their heads, they'll wag their tails, and suddenly I'm going, all right, you can have some of my Chipotle, right? Textbook emotional manipulation. And just like in our line of work, sometimes those social engineering attempts don't quite go as planned. You think you're getting a protein boost, and you end up cleaning creatine off the floor. Influence is messy, whether it's people, pets, or payloads. That I walked into one day, by the way, after I had just given them a nice treat. They decided to retaliate by blowing open my creatine and spraying it all over the house. Quick disclaimer, orange jumpsuits really don't have enough room or pockets for all of our cool hacking gear, like our Hack 5s and our pineapples and things. So, hack the planet, but let's do it responsibly, okay? Whoops. So, the genie's out of the bottle, right? How could AI help with social engineering? Well, AI is here and it's here to stay. It's already in your tools, it's already in your workflows. Some of you have probably even seen it in your kids' homework. Me, I'm just the guy that still keeps a shotgun next to the toaster just in case it stands up and starts talking. Okay, but whether you love it or fear it, AI is already shaping how social engineering is done, and unfortunately, we're not putting that genie back in the bottle. So some of the AI tools that we'll use and can play a small role in social engineering, these include things like ChatGPT. We're all familiar with that. It's great at helping to write convincing emails, pretext scripts that's, pass the smell test, that sort of thing. You've got Claude, that's perfect for coding. I've sent even some of my just, kind of ham-fisted scripts to it and said, hey, clean this up, make this more secure, make this run better. Midjourney is great for visual deception. You can help make employee badges. Say you get a picture off LinkedIn or off Google of an employee badge. You can, send that over to Midjourney and say, hey, clean this up, make this look good. Canva, Grok. Each one of these tools by itself is harmless, but together they can help supercharge a campaign and help you further your social engineering goals. So let's talk a little bit about some of the different aspects of social engineering, like Vishing, for instance. Some of the proven Vishing, I hate to say techniques that still work, phone-based phishing, is remember we talked about Caesars and MGM, all of that chaos started, all of those millions of ransom, terabytes of stolen data, all that started with a single phone call, so a guy and a cell phone, right? That seems like a new technique, and I'm sure some of you have already been hearing about, oh, can you guys do the scattered spider techniques? But here's the secret. Hackers have been doing that same pretext for many, many years. It's only hit the mainstream because of how public it was. Other pretexts that I like to use are things like MFA fatigue follow-up, right? If you get a password, You might start hitting the employee with that login over and over again, so their phone just blows up with the MFA fatigue, and then you could call them and being like, hey, are you getting a bunch of MFA pushes? Bank fraud alerts, that's another common pretext involving, hey, we need you to verify who you are, we're seeing some bad logins, let me get your information to make sure that these logins we're seeing are from you or they're from a bad guy. Some of the non-AI vishing tools that I still like to use are Burner, VoIP-MS, and Zoiper. A couple other pretexts I like to do are, if I'm posing as a help desk agent, I might ask a user to visit a site and say, hey, listen, we tried to patch your system last night, and for whatever reason, my patching tool is coming back and saying that your system, wasn't patched correctly. I'll navigate them to a site, have them download a malicious, payload, get C2 that way. Or I might flip it around. I might call the help desk as a user that I've enumerated and say, hey, I'm locked out. I can't get into my whatever, into my machine, into my Outlook, into my email. This is urgent. I've got a project coming up. I really need to get in here. Can you help me out with that? You can use AI to help supercharge some of those campaigns. AI can make vishing faster and more convincing by helping you role-play scenarios before you even pick up the phone, so you can practice back and forth with it. You can even use it to build a psychological profile of your target, their tone, their stress points, their likely reactions. The more information you can feed it from proper open source intelligence gathering, like LinkedIn, social media, news mentions, even the company website, the more authentic and natural your call will sound. Got a couple of prompts. I'm not going to read through them. If you just want to screenshot them or whatever on your phone, you can. But these are prompts that I have fed into things like ChatGPT and said, hey, here's a prompt. I want you to do this thing. Give me a profile, for instance, on this one. I asked for a profile and then a nice little form fillable PDF that I could, capture along as I was doing the engagement. And then another prompt I fed it about psychological profiles. Hey, help me create a psychological profile on this target. Here's as much information as I can about the target. Everything I pulled from Facebook, LinkedIn, open source intelligence gathering. And then it would feed back like, hey, here are the trigger points. Here are the stress points. Here are some things to avoid. Here's how a natural conversation flow will go, that sort of thing. Another big one, and my coworker Skylar Tudor did a talk about this earlier this morning, is AI voice cloning, right? You can grab voice samples from things like voicemail, YouTube, social media, Facebook, Instagram, and then you take those voice samples and use tools like 11 Labs or Respeecher to clone them. A lot of financial institutions, a lot of different places like that are relying on voice print authentication, and cloning their voice will often let you bypass that. Now, there are defense tools out there like PinDrop, for instance. I'm vendor agnostic. I'm not laying claim to one thing or another here, okay? But tools like PinDrop are trying to fight back against this. They could try and detect the subtle acoustic fingerprints in a voice and flag if it's synthetic. However, big disclaimer, none of these tools are perfect. As voice cloning gets better, so will the tools designed to catch it. Basically, it's trying to be caller ID for your vocal cords, but what's really happening and what we're seeing more and more of is it's AI versus AI. You're using AI to clone a voice, you're using AI to try to detect the clone of the voice. So, battle of the robots here. So we're going to try something. We're going to try a live demo. We're going to call a help desk and see if we can't get them to reset a password for us. So I don't know if the mic will pick this up. We will see. Let's see. Oh, it does. It works. All right.
IG Help Desk, this is Rob. How can I help you?
Hey, Rob, this is John Smith over at accounting.
Hey, John, how's it going?
Hey, not doing too bad. Listen, I'm trying to log into Microsoft 365, and for some reason I'm not able to log in. It's saying my password is invalid.
Let's see what we can do. Before we can begin, I'll need your employee ID and date of hire.
Yeah, so at this point, right, I'm on LinkedIn, I'm looking at the user's profile, figuring out when they started at that company. That's usually their date of hire, right? Because it's on LinkedIn. We all publish that stuff. So as far as the employee ID, I didn't have it at that time. So I went, okay, Yeah, so I can't remember my employee ID. Is it the first dot last, or is it the 6-digit thing?
I do apologize. We're in the bullpen right now. Can you repeat that question?
Yeah, I apologize. Yeah, so is it the first dot last, or is it the 6-digit thing for the employee ID?
Oh, I got you. Yes, it is the 6-digit number you were issued when you were first hired.
Yeah, so I definitely don't have that, boss. My date of hire was back in January of 1984. Yeah, so is there another way I can verify myself here? I don't remember my employee ID. He's checking. Help desk?
Oh, sorry, I was on mute there for a second. So, yeah, I don't remember my supervisor's name either.
Yeah, so my supervisor is Dave Kennedy.
Okay, all right, cool, perfect. So, yeah, that works. I looked up your employee ID here, by the way. It is 123456. Don't forget the 6. You've been here a while, so, yeah.
Yeah.
Reset your password. It is now password 123 with a capital P. Why don't you see if you can log in?
All right, give me just a second here. So I go to log in, right? And this is, by the way, this is a real reenactment of something that happened. So I go to log in, and the password works, but now it's asking for an MFA. So I'm like, oh crap, I don't have access to that dude's phone. Okay, cool. All right. Okay, hey, help desk. So I can log in. Give me just a minute here. It's pushing MFA, but for some reason it's not. The MFA prompt isn't going to my phone.
That's really weird. So let me look at that. Advanced. Okay. So yeah, we've been having issues with our. Otherwise, we issued a one-time MFA code, and that code, we've been for 24 hours. And whether it's the A, B, or C.
All right, give me 1 second. Let me try that. So then they issued a one-time auth code because I had verified in their system, right? Entered the one-time auth code. It came back. I was able to log in, right? I said, cool, man. All right, yeah, it looks like I was able to log in.
That's awesome. I'm glad to hear that. Is there anything else I can help you with today?
Nope, I think I'm good. Thank you.
Yeah, you bet. Thanks for calling the IT help desk. Have a great day.
So it's comedic, right? But that's literally how that call went. I mean, we were able to verify simply by looking up information on LinkedIn and Facebook and everywhere else. We were able to provide them with what they thought was enough information to verify the authenticity of the caller. So they were more than happy to go ahead and be like, yeah, we've been having issues with this all day. Duo's not working, whatever. Let's go ahead and just issue you a one-time code. We'll fix it tomorrow, So how do you beat vishing, right? How do you beat that? The easiest way is a callback system. So if you have your users installed in AD with their proper phone numbers, and they call and they get any hair of suspicion about them, you go, you know what? Let me go ahead and call you back at your internal number, because we could spoof numbers all day long and make it seem legitimate on the outbound calls, but unless we have that physical device in our hands, we're not going to be able to receive that call from that authentic number, right? So that's one way. Another way is asking for multiple forms of authentication, things that you can't find from open source intelligence gathering. And then another one that we've seen with some success is having the help desk send a push notification, a one-time push notification to that user's phone, right? So that they have to accept it, and then they can continue the troubleshooting call. So let's talk about email-based phishing, right? So proven phishing tactics that still work. With email-based phishing, most of the work happens before you even hit send on your email. Enumerating users, researching the target, crafting an email that needs to feel so real the victim never thinks twice about clicking. So how do we do that? First thing you got to do is your homework. Open source intelligence gathering is where most good phishing starts. Everyone in this room included has some sort of footprint online. LinkedIn and Facebook will give you job titles. Oftentimes you'll get reporting chains and the exact kind of phrasing that people use when they're talking internally, right? A lot of companies have specific lingo that they'll use internally. Company career pages, for instance, when they're looking to hire folks, press releases, gives you more information on who or what's going on there. You can even do some technical crimes like who is, certificates, things like that. and they can kind of give you the direction where to aim. There's a great woodworking saying that I love. It's measure twice and cut once. So do your recon up front, and you'll waste far less time later. Do the homework first. Your email won't read like a scam. It'll read like it came from someone they already trust. So here's some non-AI phishing tools that I like to use, especially for user enumeration. User enumeration is the phrase where you turn a guess into a person. You want real names, you want real relationships, and you want to be able to get enough information on your target org so that your email or call looks like it came from inside or it came from somebody they know. You can use tools like OneDrive User Enum, Weakest Link, Team Filtration, PyMeta, all these different things to automate parts of that discovery. This will give you an idea of their, like I said, their email nomenclature, whether or not they're using, Azure sometimes, different things like that, right? You can also pull usernames from metadata with PyMeta. You can use tools like decode spam headers to help feed your email in, and it will read it and go, hey, this looks spammy, remove X, Y, and Z to make it less spammy. It's still a great tool. A couple great toolkits that are out there, things like GoFish for sending your actual quick wins. It's not quite as mature, but if you need metrics, for instance, it's great for that. Several folks have written several toolkits to try to make GoFish less fishy, so go check those out. Like Puzzle Peaches, for instance, did a project on that. I like to use Mailgun to configure it, so that's the mail sender for GoFish. And then if you need a quick domain, you can look at expired domains and go find a nice domain to use as your sending domain. So how do you use AI to help supercharge your phishing, right? AI can craft emails that help pass the smell check. Takes away things like awkward phrasing, obvious red flags. You can even use it to help clean up your HTML and make those login portals, so you capture those credentials, look absolutely flawless. You can even have it pull things like, hey, in this geographical area, I want you to pull the most common first and last names to help kind of, spread that out. Again, with the Vishing prompts, I've got a couple AI prompts for email-based phishing here. If you want to take a picture of those. This will get you things like trying to get around the Microsoft 365 forefront quarantine notification, correct sender information, things like that. And then this will be, things for how to make a good landing page, for instance. This is an example that we use for an Outlook security plugin. So this fish here, I fed into chat and tweaked it a little bit, and it printed this nice little printout for me. We then attached our, we call this a plugin installation pretext, right? We sent this as a prompt that looked like it was an IT-supplied security update, and the instructions for how to install it. We crafted a really good payload and attached it in there, and then once the user clicked on it, we were able to get a really good foothold. Installers and plugin prompts are super powerful pretexts, by the way, that because users associate them with safety and authenticity and authority. So you have the Outlook security plugin, you let them know, hey, here's how to install it, and that's had great success here as of late. Another common one, as simple as it sounds, is just the simple notification of, hey, I've shared a doc with you, click here to open it, right? It's very, very simple, it's clean, there's nothing, overly sus about it, and that kind of thing is back and forth all day through, especially sales folks and stuff, hey, I've shared this document, whatever. They're effective because that exploits kind of a really common workflow that people happen every day. So let's talk about physical, like breaking into buildings, like robbing banks. Haven't had to use AI for it very much, but it can help. So when you go on site, after you've done your open source intelligence gathering, you could decide how you want to approach it, right? I'll use banks for an example. We might go in and say, hey, we're a local ISP. You've done your research, you figure out they're Comcast, Verizon, whatever. Hey, we're here from Comcast. We've got a work order to look in your server room and make sure that the lines are operating correctly, or you're getting a bandwidth upgrade, whatever, right? So you go to chat, you say, hey, chat, make me a work order. I want it to be from Verizon. I want it to look like this, whatever. Put this logo on it. Make it look legitimate. Another one that we'll do is we'll have a letter an authorized work letter, and that letter will have a phone number to a different consultant, but hiding under the name of a legitimate employee. So they'll read that letter and they'll go, oh, I know John Smith in accounting. Let me call him real quick. Hey, John, this is Debbie from accounting. I've got a dude here that says he's supposed to work on the IT help desk. And then my guy is trained to go, yep, he's totally legit. Let him in the server room. Go ahead and let him in there and leave him alone. Let him do his work. So what are some things that AI can help you with? Well, with badge creation, I'm a terrible artist. I'm awful at using whatever Adobe Photoshop and things to make badges. So you can help kind of have AI get you the framework, and then you can work on it from there. You can import it into a different tool. It can help you role play de-escalation techniques. So as you're going on site and you're trying to break into places, if you're nervous or you're bad about trying to de-escalate or you don't know how to talk to folks, you can role play that with AI and be like, hey, act like a security guard or act like somebody who's pissed off and acting suspicious. Help me learn how to de-escalate and talk myself out of that. And then, like I said, it can help create fake work orders and letters, things like that. More prompts if you want them. There's another prompt for AI talking about the work order creation. And then as far as beating the physical defense, if you're a physical penetration tester and you're trying to break into places, a lot of places are doing things like license plate readers now, so they could tie it back to the vehicle, to the owner of the vehicle. And if you're doing your drive-through to do open source intelligence gathering, rent a car. Just rent a car, do your quick drive-through, and then hop into a different car or walk up or do something like that. Call ahead. Oftentimes, places will have a desk for the guard shack, for instance, or for the guards, or even just for the secretary. And you can call ahead and start social engineering the secretary, social engineering the guards. Oftentimes they use third-party guard companies, and just be like, hey, what's the shift? How you guys doing? What's going on with this and that or whatever? And then obviously sitting on site and watching folks and mimicking behaviors and mimicking dress and tone and things like that is really crucial and key. If you're at a warehouse, for instance, and you see most of the folks are wearing high visibility vests and jeans, if you show up in a suit and tie, you're probably going to stick out. You go back to Home Depot, buy a pair of jeans and a vest, you'll likely be able to walk in with the rest of the crew during lunch because you're just one of the guys. Quick disclaimer. AI is a force multiplier. It's not a magic bullet. If you lean into it too much, you'll start to lose the human touch, and humans can still spot when something feels or smells a little off. The best social engineering still needs real human intuition behind it. The whole point of social engineering is to take advantage of the human, and I don't care how advanced AI gets, I don't care how much of a powerful tool it's going to become, the best social engineers are still and will always be humans. Plus, you get nonsense like this, right? It's not perfect. There's actually a Twitter account called AI Being Dumb, which is literally just a series of screenshots of AI getting things hilariously wrong. So go out and find it and go have a good laugh, because it is bananas. So quick real world story, right? Story time, okay? We were hired, we at TrustedSec were hired by a mid-sized financial institution to test, all of their defenses. It was a full scope red team. We set up our C2, we crafted a really good payload, we did all of our open source intelligence gathering on LinkedIn, Google, Facebook, everything else. We decided on a mid-level teller supervisor at a branch not far from their headquarters. And, for purposes of protection, we'll call her Linda. We used Zoiper to spoof our caller ID to match the main headquarters number of this bank. And then we called the branch directly and we asked for Linda. I told her, hey, we're from HQ, we're from IT. There's been a huge uptick in phishing attacks, and we need to deploy a patch overnight to protect all of our branches, okay? And for whatever reason, your branch computers haven't received it, yours especially. I need you to, I'm going to guide you through how to install this patch, right? I leaned into that pretext. I was very apologetic. Listen, I know you're busy. The branch is busy. I'm really sorry to bug you. To try to make it seem like I was helping her and I was partnering with her and not trying to inconvenience her. So she was more than happy to follow the instructions. She said, yeah, we want to make sure the computers are safe. We want to make sure the money's safe, She visited the site, hosted our payload, downloaded it and ran it. It was a click once executable. We were able to get C2 over her machine. So that's step one. Boom, that gave us a shell. We're in, right? From there, we were able to install a keylogger. We were able to capture credentials. We began to kind of slowly, snake our way around the network, okay? We were then able to take it a step further. We were able to kind of watch her Teams messages come in and out because we were able to log into Teams. So we saw messages to a different branch manager nearby, and we said, oh, they've got an established relationship. They chat, right? So when she wasn't at her computer, we sent a quick message to that other branch manager, let them know, hey, there's a security guy coming on site, and he's got to do some network inventory. Be sure to let him on. He just visited our branch. He's been, verified he's good. And then we deleted it, right? But as silly as it sounds, it worked. When we arrived in person, we convinced the branch manager to let us into the server room. And from there, we had unrestricted access to the network. We were able to plant things like OMG plugs, drop boxes, all sorts of other implants all over the server room, right? We didn't have to hack the network to get full access. And we were able to get DA very quickly after that. We hacked the people who then literally walked us right into their server room without so much as a second thought, a second call, any sort of verification. And that's the power of social engineering. I've got a couple more slides. I threw this in here last minute. And if you guys will bear with me for a second, I'm just going to go off the cuff here. It's no secret right now that the world has gotten kind of dark, right? We're seeing it in the news. We're seeing a lot of hatred being thrown around. We're seeing a lot of, visceralness. Humans aren't connecting like we used to. We're not being kind to one another, right? It's up to us to make that change. You have to be the change if you want to see the change, right? I always tell people, if you approach every conversation, whether it's with a stranger or a loved one, as if they might be having the worst day of their life, they might have just gotten the worst news you've ever seen. If you approach it with that kind of, empathy, that will teach you compassion, that will teach you empathy, that will teach you how to treat humans just a little bit better. We have an opportunity right now to change the narrative around the world, around hacking, around, everyone you meet. But it's up to you to go, okay, I'm breaking this cycle of whatever it is, of this, and I'm going to be kind. I choose to be kind. So I want to challenge all of you to choose to be kind, to be a little patient, because you don't know what that other person's going through. So be a little patient, have a little empathy, have a little compassion, have a little love in your heart. A couple references. Again, going back to how to win friends and influence people. That was originally a sales book. Dale Carnegie didn't know that he was writing a great book on social engineering at the time. Obviously, got to give a big shout out. Kevin Mitnick, rest in peace. God bless him. All of his books are fantastic if you want to kind of get, a good idea in that. And then a couple of older Singris books are still pretty good, like Dissecting the Hack and Low-Tech Hacking. So that's it for me. You can come find me on socials. I'm on the Trusted Tech blog. I'm on Twitter, X, LinkedIn, whatever. So come find me if you want to talk. Appreciate all of you guys for hanging out with me, and let's go eat some supper. Stay out of trouble.